Catherine Martin is a two-time Academy Award-winning costume designer, wife, and mother. Her work transcends her as she's leaving her own imprint on the fashion industry. She's done the costumes for Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, the film Australia, if you remember that, with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman, Moulin Rouge, and The Great Gatsby. The latter two films she won Academy Awards for Best Costume Director. I speak with Martin about her costume design work in the film Elvis, that Luhrmann also directed, and for which she's been nominated for another Academy Award this year. As she walks into the interview, the medium-height designer is dressed in head-to-toe black, and she's probably one of the few women who can carry off wearing black on black on black. Even her rimmed glasses are flamboyant yet black, drawing out her stylish short blonde hairstyle. Her big smile shifts the atmosphere in the room as she nestles onto the sofa to talk about what everyone's been talking about, Elvis. Opening up, she talks about how she met Luhrmann and how the two have shared a passion for film since the beginning, and what they've done over the years and how that's organic but yet planned. So enjoy this podcast episode interview with costume film designer Catherine Martin. So I saw the film a few days ago and absolutely loved it. I was paying attention to the costumes.
Aww.
And okay, so I'm going to go a little bit before the film. How did you and Baz meet, and was there a love for film at the beginning of the relationship and this thought of him making films and you doing costumes?
So when we met, I was coming for a job interview to work. It was the bicentennial year in Australia, so 200 years of Australians taking over a country which actually belonged to someone else, but that's a whole other story.
Yes.
And he had been given a couple of companies as a bicentennial initiative, and I was going to interview for those jobs. And when I met him, we just started to talk and talk and talk and talk. And just about everything, from Madonna to, to space travel, to existential philosophy. Like, it was a really broad
Everything.
kind of everything. And I had been a bit dissatisfied with kind of the thinking and the intellectual rigor at drama school, especially as a designer. And I thought, wow, this guy really, what a big intellect, what a big mind. And from that moment on, we just kept talking and talking, and I started working with him. And I remember going into a rehearsal room, and he was rehearsing an opera that I'd done the costumes for, and my then design kind of colleague that I worked with all the time, Angus Strathy, I had done the set, and I basically, maybe we did it together, or maybe I did do the set. Look, I'm losing my mind. I remember seeing his staging, because it took place, it was sort of a Fountain of Youth story with a kind of ecological bent, and it was in a television studio, and we'd flooded the floor of the television studio, and everything was on water. There was an island and all kinds of things, and there was a boat that was pushed around in the water. And I remember thinking, wow, this person really has kind of an incredible mind. And so really, originally, it was about designing opera and being in the theatre. And then he had done this play as a student, Strictly Ballroom, and he decided he wanted to make it, or someone approached him, or he decided he was going to make it into a movie, and by then we'd been working together for a long time, so it kind of was a natural just progression of
organic.
The work. It was like an organic it wasn't like a planned, although weirdly I think Baz plans everything, but it always seems organic. He'll think of something and then it'll go into his subconscious and it always ends up happening.
Wow, he's a dreamer.
Yeah, he's able to kind of envision something into life and convince everybody around him that it's a good idea and we should all be on the boat going in that direction.
It's a leadership quality that he's got.
Yeah.
When did you know costume design was your passion and that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, I've always loved fashion. Just like men love cars. I have no interest in cars, I should say. But I love fashion.
Yeah.
I love the world of fashion. I love clothes. I love looking at people, what they're wearing. I mean, Cannes is like...
It's every night.
It's just like a parade.
Yeah.
Both of the most beautiful, but also of the most freakish. Like, it's just the best theatre in the world. So I think, you know, I always wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I realised that I enjoyed the intellectual kind of challenge. Not that fashion isn't, you know, it's requires enormous rigor, fashion. And I just found I really enjoyed the storytelling aspect and I really enjoyed the collaborative aspect. You know, that I could work with actors and work with Baz, and I loved that aspect of it.
It doesn't make it boring for you. You can always be expecting to do something exciting, I guess. Except
absolutely.
Other
It's
than like
always
putting out a
exceptional.
collection every season. Yeah.
I mean, look, to me, I think that, you know, I sometimes daydream and go, oh, I'd love to do that. And then I think of how hard it is. Like, their jobs are just so hard. 8 collections a year. It just becomes ridiculous.
And tiring. As the journalist going to Paris Fashion Week every season, it's tiring.
It's tiring.
Yeah.
You're just exhausted, right?
Always running from one show to another every day for 11 or no, maybe 10, 8 days. Yeah.
And then it just goes like, also it just becomes a blur.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so I just, So I love that. I love clothes. I love the way clothes are made. I love fabric. You know, all those things, I think, allow you to delve into a world that you wouldn't usually
delve
into. You can delve into all these fantastical worlds. And yes, everything is about money and budgets and whatever, right? But at least you're not running like the poor fashion designers trying to balance art and money. And it's so fickle.
Yes, and to be creative in such a short amount of time between collections, it drains the designer.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like, how do they do it?
I know they have teams to help them with this, but I'm sure, and they're working collections ahead too, so...
Yeah, like they have to be, because they're, you know, getting knits done in Hong Kong, and in Italy they'll be getting the tailoring done, and a lot of people don't have the luxury anymore of having, you know, ateliers where they are. It's all factory based.
That's true. At least you have some diversity in what you're doing. I saw in an interview you did for Gatsby that you quoted Shakespeare, and you said, or he said, "When clothes maketh the man." What do you think that meant for Elvis, and how did you go about capturing this?
So I think that Elvis was a kind of incredible stylist because he created his own looks. He didn't have a stylist, you know, and he created these looks, and they were all about creating his stage and offstage persona. It was all about creating the Elvis myth, you know, who he was, and he really projected himself through clothes, which is really fascinating. I mean, most performers do, but he had three such strong periods in his life, and he just created such iconic kind of looks, like the jumpsuits, and you know, he was really fearless in terms of his sartorial choices, and you know, he wasn't scared of being a dandy, and I think that comes from his admiration for so many black performers, and having been, you know, on Beale Street all through his youth, and also, you know, going to shop at Lansky Brothers, where that kind of sartorial dandiness, that strength, that ability to actually create yourself through your clothes, and not being fearful, you know, as a man, of being a kind of a peacock, you know, and just kind of like left of field things like B.B. King loving to wear shorts. I mean, how random.
That's true.
I love that, right? But I think all those things, that influence of not being scared to project himself through clothes.
And at that time, I don't think men performers were so experimental, maybe the way that he was at that time. Yeah.
You know, you do have people like Little Richard who would do his hair and his makeup. I mean, he was totally outrageous. But you're absolutely right. There wasn't that level of sort of strength in choice.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he wore lace shirts. He and just like he picked up, like Bill Ballou designed the 68 special clothes because he was the NBC designer, and that sort of Napoleon collar, and then he has that ability to look at that and go, right, I'm going to take that and parlay it through into, I'm going to see it through a number of evolutions, and I'm going to keep working with Bill Ballou, and we're going to find that jumpsuit moment.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating. And also that he sort of, in the Vegas years, he found the jumpsuit and he never let it go.
Yeah, he kept holding on to it.
It was like really, and it kind of totally defined him.
Yeah.
And even though I read somewhere that Bill Ballou had designed jumpsuits, maybe it was even for the Osmonds or maybe for the Jackson 5 prior to Elvis getting his jumpsuits, and the Colonel tried to get the copyright on the jumpsuits from Bill Ballou, and he went, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Like, jumpsuits, they're not a copyrightable...
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's
I know
a
what you
jumpsuit.
mean. Yeah. It's all fascinating. And, okay, so what's a typical, like, if Boz is doing a film and he's like, okay, I'm going to do this, where do you start your work? What's the process like for you?
So, he's very exigent about research. So there'll be certain things that you need to read or to immerse yourself in. And then he often sets projects that help with the script. So there'll be visual investigations. He'll say, I want every picture you can find of Club Handy or Beale Street or of Elvis in 1952. What do you think is the most interesting thing he wore in 1956? Pull together a dossier so that can help me, you know, because this is what I want to write about and I want those visual cues. I mean, he's an incredibly visual person. So he'll often start making collages or doing little sketches, and then it's up to us to kind of take that, run with it, and come back with other things. And I start really early on while the script is being written.
Okay.
And often we make lookboards. We also make books which speak to various characters. So we made a kernel, it's like a potted, like they're books we use to express to the studio the ideas.
Okay.
So they're images, quotes, song lines. They're kind of like a coffee table book, but we make it for ourselves.
Okay.
And so we made one for Elvis, we made one for the Colonel, and in that way we're able to express not only to the studio but to the actors and to ourselves kind of the journey we're going to go on.
Okay.
So we've done that for every project. Oh, I'm glad you reminded me of that. And quite often within those books we do some concept art very early on to try and include, you know, the actors that are cast in the movie. And yeah, that's kind of how that starts, and we just keep building on it and building on it, and eventually we'll have a design presentation where we kind of take everyone through these documents we've made so that everybody's on the same page and knows where we're going.
Gotcha. And then you make the costumes in Australia?
Yeah, we made them all in Australia. We had a great group of women, and I've worked with them for 30 years, and I'm extremely lucky. They're absolutely fabulous. And it's a real bastion of female, you know, strength and energy, because it's predominantly female endeavour, sewing and making hats, and so there's a kind of great female history there. But at the same time we're trying to encourage young men to become part of that world, because it's completely you know, inhabited by women, and also women of a certain age like myself.
I see.
We need to make it more interesting to young people.
To everyone, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode and that you have found a soulful connection to the conversation. God bless you, and until the next episode, go bless somebody else.